What's going on, guys? Welcome to your 43rd tutorial, and in this tutorial, as promised, I'm going to show you guys how to modify only certain lines. So here's our document we have so far. It's called A, and it says this is a new line, this is line 2, third line, last and final line. So let's go ahead and get rid of that, and let me show you guys how to modify certain lines in that document. So before we can modify the lines, we need to take all the lines or read them in. So let's go ahead and create a new file object, and of course, like before, we want this to be a read object. So look in your find your path C, hope I remember it, test a.text, and of course it's a read object, so go ahead and press R, and now we have a file object that can read. And what we want to do is create a list that using read lines. And remember, when you put read lines, it returns all of the lines to you in list format. So let's go ahead and do that, and we want to take that list and store it in a temporary variable. So let's go ahead and make a temporary variable called listme. You can name it anything you want. I'm gonna name mine listme, so you know it's a list. I can't have list because list is an actual keyword. So let's go ahead and push listme and set it equal to FOB, which is a file object, dot read lines, and don't forget it needs to be plural, and that's it. Just put listme equal to FOB read lines. Now go ahead and press enter, and listme is now equal to, as you can see, equal to a list of all the lines in that document a.text. So now we can go ahead and close this since we don't need it anymore. And what we want to do now is modify this list. So we want to modify, let's say, the third line in it. So let's go ahead and write listme, and let's go ahead and press 2, because remember 2 is actually the third line since it starts at 0. And let's just change this line. So listme 2 equals I sure love bacon. So just to get something out of the ordinary. So now we have a list of the files, and this is the old one. The new one is the exact same thing, except the third line says I sure love bacon. So now once we print out listme, we get that new one that says I sure love bacon in this third one. The problem is we didn't actually save this to the text document yet. So even though we read from the file, the original file, and made a new list, we didn't save that list into a new file, or we didn't write it yet. So let's go ahead and write that, and I'll show you guys what I mean right here. Computer C A right there. As you can see, this is our document. We didn't change it yet. So even though we changed it using our program, we didn't change the actual file yet. It still says this is third line, and we don't want that. So let me go ahead, and we need to make a new file object, and we'll make this one an open object, and a write object. So let's go ahead, and as our first parameter, you guys should get good at this, test.a.text, and make this a write, since we want to write, obviously. So the next thing I want to do is use a little function called write lines, and what write lines is going to do is allow you to do just that. So let's go ahead and file object and put write lines, and as your parameter, not write line. Actually, that brings me to a point. There is no write line function, because if there was a write line function, it would just be write, since that's what you're doing, writing a line. There's only a write lines function in order to write new lines. So what do we want to do? Add as a parameter to write multiple lines. Well, all we have to do is put the name of our variable listme, since we already have a list of brand new lines. So let's go ahead and press enter, and what it does is once we close this, that right here, it took this parameter, which was a list of new lines, and it wrote new lines to whatever our object was, which was this text file right here, and then we just closed. So now once we did that, we should have some new lines in our document. So let's go ahead and show you guys what I'm doing here. Test A and it says this is a new line, this is line 2, I sure love bacon, this is the last and final line. And I'll show you guys why this didn't go to a new line, because I forgot to do something. Let's see, X out of this. When I put I sure love bacon, I should have done this. I sure love bacon, and I should have put new line, but I didn't. As you can see, \n from before is the new line character, and I forgot to put that, so that's why it was the old line. But again, that's how you use a list from reading from a list, and the read lines functions to get a list, and also the write lines function to import a list and write it as new lines in your file. So again, don't forget your new line character like I did, but if you didn't, it still works either way. So hopefully you understand a little bit what I did. I'll try to clear things up for you in the next couple of tutorials, but that's the basics of how to edit a certain line. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, you can just send me a message. Otherwise, just thank you guys. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time.